In this class, we're going to learn how to calculate the mean, variance, standard deviation, standard error, and coefficient of variation. Okay, let's start with the first question. An experiment was conducted on goats and the following data was obtained on their body weight. We are given the data. Now we are asked to determine the mean value, the variance, the standard deviation, and the standard error, and a coefficient of variation of the data. Okay, now in an attempt to solve this question, the first step is to prepare your table. Okay, so I have already prepared the table that I'm going to use to solve for the parameters that I need. You understand? Now look, you know that we are given the body weight in kilogram. We are given the body weight of the goat. You understand? Now I'm going to represent the body weight as x. You understand? All the values that were given in the question, I'm going to represent they are the body weight. You understand? So I'm going to represent those values as x. So let's write out all the values of the body weight. The first is 10.5. So I'm going to have 10.5. Okay. Now after 10.5 we have 11.6. So I'm going to have 11.6. The next is 10.8. Then we have 12.7. 12.7. Then we have 13.5. You understand? So after 13.5 we have 9.7 again. Then we have 14.5. Then we have 12.8. 12.8, 11.9, 10.5 again. Then we have 11.9. We have 13.5. Okay. Then we have 15.8. Then we have 14.8. 14.8. Oh, 14.5, sorry. Then after 14.5, we have 12.8, which is the last body weight that we are given in the question. Now, these are the values of x that we have. Now, let's start with the first question. The first question says we should calculate the mean value. Now, don't forget that mean is given by this formula. Mean is equals to, okay, that will be x bar, okay, is equals to summation x all over n. You understand? Because this is an ungrouped data, you understand? So it is easy to calculate the mean. Okay, so all you have to do is that you just have to sum all the values of x and then divide it by the count of all. You understand? Listen, the sign that you see here is summation, and summation x simply means the sum of all the values of x that we have. So if you want to calculate the mean now, we have to sum all the values of x. So let us sum all the values of x. That means I'm going to have 10.5 plus 11.6 plus 10.8 plus 12.7 plus 13.5 plus 9.7 plus 14.5 plus 12.8 plus 11.9 plus 10.5 plus 11.9 plus 13.5 plus 15.8 plus 14.5 plus 12.8. That is what? That will give us 187. So I'm going to have here 187. That is the summation of all the values of x that we have. Now, that means I'm going to have, please just pay attention, okay? So I'm going to have summation x. Summation x is 187. So I'm going to have 187 all over n. N is the total numbers, you understand? The numbers of sample, the numbers of observation, the numbers of the body weight that we have, you understand? So just count. You just have to count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So you understand? So here, n will be 15. So 187 divided by 15. That will give us 12.47. You understand? So the mean is 12.47. So that is the mean value. Now, we have gotten the mean value. Let's proceed to the next question. We are asked to determine the variance. You understand? Now, how do we calculate the variance? The variance is given by this formula. Hello? The variance, this is mean. Now, the variance is x squared. You understand? So the variance is given by this formula. Summation x minus x bar all over n minus 1. You understand? If you see, when you are dealing with statistics, the first step is to remember your formula. You understand? The formula that you know, it tells you what you're going to have on this table. You understand? So the formula for variance is summation of deviation squared all over n minus 1. This x minus x bar is deviation. You understand? Please pay attention. You know that I don't know if you are part of our previous class, when we talk about mean deviation, you will come across something like this: x minus x bar. That is the deviation. You understand? So now, but we are talking about variance. Variance is equals to summation of the deviation squared all over n minus 1. You understand? So now that means that on this table I'm still going to have deviation. You understand? Deviation is x minus x bar. You understand? So here I'm going to have x minus x bar. That is the difference between the values of x that I have and the main value. You understand? Don't forget that the main value have been calculated as what? 12.47. So if I want to get the value for these cells, that means I'm going to subtract the corresponding x from this main value. You understand? So to get the value of these cells, I'm going to have the corresponding x is what? 10.5. So I'm going to have 10.5 minus 12.7. That will give us negative 1.97. So I'm going to have here negative 1.97. Are you paying attention? Okay, let's proceed. Here I'm going to have 11.6 minus 12.7. That will give us negative 0.87. Negative 0.87. Okay, for these cells I'm going to have 10.8 minus 12.47. That will be negative 1.67. Negative 1.67. Do you see? So that's how we're going to proceed. Just subtract the corresponding value of x for each cells from the mean. You understand? Okay, subtract the mean from the corresponding value of each cells. So if I want to get the value of x and the value of these cells, I'm going to have 12.7 minus 12.47. That will give us 0.23. You understand? So here I'm going to have 0.23. Now for the next cells, I'm going to have 13.5 minus 12.47. That is 1.03. 1.03. Now 9.7 minus 12.47. That will be negative 12.77. Okay, negative 2.77. Negative 2.77. Now, okay, so let's proceed to the next cell. Here I'm going to have 14.5 minus 12.47. That will give us 2.03. 2.03. So here I'm going to have 12.8 minus 12.47. That will be 0.33. So here I'm going to have 11.9 minus 12.47. That is negative 0.57. So 10.5 minus 12.47. That will be negative 1.97. Negative 1.97. So the value here will be negative 0.57. So 13.5 minus 12.47, that will be 1.03, and here I'm going to have 3.33, and here we're going to have 2.03, then here 0.33. So now let's proceed. Now we are not done, okay? Because the formula for variance is summation x minus x bar squared all over n minus 1. So what we have done is that we've taken the difference between our x and mean. You understand? We still need to square them. You understand? We still need to square them. So here I'm going to be squaring all the values that I have here. Okay? So the next column will be x minus x bar squared. X minus x bar squared. Okay? So now for these cells I'm going to have negative 1.7. Okay, negative 1.97 squared. That will be 3.8809. For this, I'm going to square negative 0.87. That will be 0.7569. So for these cells, I'm going to square negative 1.67. That will be 2.7889. Okay. So for this, I'm going to square 0.23. That will be 0.0529. So here 1.03 squared will be 1.060609. So for this I'm going to have negative 2.77 squared. That will be 7.77 4.6729. Here I will have 4.1209. For this, we are going to have 0.1089. Here I'm going to have 0.3249. And this I'm going to have 3.8809. For this, we are going to have 0.3249. For this, 1.0609. So 3.33 squared, that will be 11.0889. And here, we are going to have 4.1209. For this, we are going to have 0.1089. Now you can see that we are done with the deviation square. You understand? This is the deviation. Now we have already squared the deviation. Now let's go back to the formula. From the formula, we still need to sum all the square of the deviation. You understand? So I'm going to sum all these values together. You understand? So if you add all these values together, we are going to have 41.3535. 41.3535. Let me put it. 41.3535. That is the sum. So now let's proceed to the formula. So we can easily get the variance. X squared is equals to summation x minus x bar squared. The summation of this is 41.3535. You understand? So I'm going to have 41.3535 all over n minus 1. N is what? N is 15. You understand? Don't forget, n is the total numbers of samples. Okay? So that is 15 minus 1. 15 minus 1 is 14. So I'm going to have, instead of 15 minus 1, I'm going to replace it with 14. Okay? 14. So the variance is equals to 41.3535 divided by 14. That is 2.9538. 2.9538. So if you want to approximate to 2 decimal places, I'm going to have 2.95. Okay? So that is the variance of the body weight of the goat. You understand? Okay? So now let's proceed to the next question. We are asked to determine the standard deviation. Don't forget that standard deviation is the square root of variance. You understand? So I've known that standard deviation is equals to the square root of x squared. You understand? Now standard deviation is equals to, now x squared is what? 2.9538. So I'm going to have square root of 2.9538. Okay? So s is equals to, the square root of 2.9538 is 1.7187. 1.7187. You understand? So you can approximate s, approximate to 2 decimal places. I'm going to have 1.72. You understand? So that is the standard deviation of the data. Okay? Now let's proceed to the next question. We are asked to determine the standard error. The standard error. Now, to calculate the standard error, I'm going to represent that as standard error. The standard error is equals to s all over the square root of n. You understand? That is the formula that we're going to use to calculate the standard error. That is the standard deviation all over the square root of the total numbers of samples that you have. You understand? So, and the standard deviation is 1.7189. You understand? So I'm going to have 1.7189 all over the square root of, now the total numbers of samples that we have is what? Is 15. So I'm going to have all over 15. So here 1.7189 all over the square root of 15. The square root of 15 is, no, sorry, this is 1.7187. Sorry, it's not 89. 1.7187. 1.7187. Okay? So now let's take the square root of 15. The square root of 15 is 3.8729. The square root of 15 is 3.8729. You understand? So now 1.7187 divided by 3.8729, that is 0.4438. 0.4438. So we can approximate. Let me just put the standard error, then standard error. Then we can approximate to 2 decimal place. I'm going to have 0.44. Okay, now we are done with that with the standard error. Let's proceed to the fifth question, the coefficient of variation. The coefficient of variation is given by this formula: 100 multiplied by standard deviation all over the mean value. You understand? 100 multiplied by standard deviation all over the mean value. This is the formula that I'm going to use to calculate the coefficient of variation. And the standard deviation is what? 1.7187. So I'm going to have 100 multiplied by 1.7187 all over the mean value. The mean value is what? 12.47. So I'm going to have here 12.47. So let's proceed. If you multiply 100 by 1.7187, that will give us 171.87. Okay, 171.87 all over 12.47. Okay, so CV, you understand? So CV, which is coefficient of variation, is equals to 171.87 divided by 12.47. What's the answer? That is 13.7826. 13.7826. So the coefficient of variation can be approximated to 2 decimal places as 13.78. You understand? So now you can see that the question is simple. Okay, so if you come across this question in exam, you should be able to solve it. The first step is that you just have to prepare your table like I did. Then, having done that, you remember your formula with respect to the parameters that you're asked to calculate. We are asked to calculate the mean, and the formula for me is this. So I know that I need to sum all these values together, divided by the count of all. I got the mean. Then I know that the formula for variance is given by this formula. So I know that I realize that I need my deviation. You understand? So I plug in another column which stands for deviation. Then looking at the formula again, I discover that I need to square the deviation. So I square all this value. Having done that, I discover that I need the summation of the square of the deviation. You understand? So I sum them together and I got this. Having done that, all over n minus 1, n is 15, which is the total numbers of samples that we have. So I subtract 1 from 15. So I got 14. Then divide it. I got the value of variance. Having gotten the value of variance, the standard deviation is the square root of variance. So I take the square root to get the standard deviation. Having done that, I calculate the standard error with respect to this formula. So now let's assume that you made mistake when you want to compute the mean. That means that your solution is wrong. The entire solution is wrong because every of this is related to the mean. And let's say you got the mean, then you make mistake in your variance. When you want to calculate the variance, you will discover that by the time you calculate your standard deviation, you won't get the solution. So when you're dealing with this question in the exam, make sure you pay attention to the details. Take it step by step. Okay, so that will be all for this class. If you have any question, let me know in the comment section. Okay, and before you go, don't forget to like and share the video. I'm not even asking you to subscribe. If you want to subscribe, but click on that like button and share the video. And if you want to be part of this channel, kindly hit the subscribe button.